It's time for
DodgerHeads.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into DodgerHeads Unplugged with Scotty G, presented by DodgerBlue.com. We're part of the Medium Large Sports Network. I'm here with my good buddy Anthony Witrado, one of the best gentlemen that I know. He's a busy man. He's donning that Lakers jacket. I appreciate the hell out of that. I know he's having a good time. This is a good time to be a Dodgers fan. Lakers stuff is looking good itself. But Anthony, man, how are you on this Wednesday?
Doing good, man. Feeling good. You know what I mean? My favorite team got Edwin Diaz. My other favorite team is playing in the NBA Cup tonight. So, you know, I'll be on Laker Nation also later on. So you can catch me there. How about that? But yeah, I got the I'm sitting in the kitchen today, so I got the Christmas tree behind me. Hard to complain.
Hell yeah, man. Look, I mean, first, Scotty's thoughts right off the top, man. The chatter with Edwin Diaz, surprise signing with the Dodgers, reports come out. I know we've had video on that, information come out about it. Just terrific articles everybody's putting out on the Dodger Blue side, touching on this stuff. Matt, Blake, and the boys over there on the written side doing, great work. Edwin Diaz and that contract, another one for, by all accounts, and that came out of nowhere. And it's one that materialized very fast. The Dodgers, once again, Blake and I asked the other day about opportunistic signings. And it was opportunistic to the sense that they beat out the Mets by just a little bit of money. And this is someone in Edwin Diaz, how the roadmap to those final three outs just got a whole lot clearer. And that's somebody who they can hand the ball off to because he checks the box of pedigree, track record, arm health, I would say. And just someone that, by all accounts, is you look at it on that 3-year deal, it's how did the Dodgers pull this one off?
Yeah, look, I think that while it's being reported that a deal came together quickly and some people in the front office or some people in the organization were surprised that it happened, I stand by my theory that I think that this guy was the target for them in terms of a relief arm the entire time. I said that in the morning yesterday when we went live, and then I saw Jeff and Bruce kind of disagreed with that after seeing the reporting that had come out. Mm-hmm. I've been in that reporter's chair. A deal that comes together quickly and that surprises some people doesn't mean that guy was not the target the entire time. Like in an instance like this, you say we've set boundaries within what we're willing to do for this particular player. And if things go beyond those boundaries, then we'll be out. I think all the indicators were that things were going to go beyond those boundaries for Edwin Diaz, meaning 4 or 5 years, and, the subsequent money. And he was probably going to set a new record for AAV no matter what the length of the deal was. And then maybe those years didn't come. And maybe his team was banking on the Dodgers being the ones who were going to reach out, right? And when the Dodgers weren't there, and the Mets took Devin Williams, then it opened up a different market, and their top target then became much more attainable. Then that's how a quick synergy happened with the contract. I don't think it's necessarily means that they didn't have Edwin Diaz on their radar at all. And then suddenly they got a call and said, oh, Edwin Diaz is open to 3 years. And they went, and started scrambling and moving papers around the desk. I don't think that's how it goes down. In fact, I know that's not how it goes down because I've been reporting these things from winter meetings for a long time. So I don't think that yesterday morning or the night before was the first time they had a conversation with Edwin Diaz's people.
Definitely. I would say, I align with that a lot. Thank you for agreeing with that because he could be a target. It's not someone they're just writing off. It's that, look, we have the means and the assets to go out and get, that seeming the top option on the market. It's, what does the contract look like? What is he willing to go with? And once that picture became clearer that a sub 5-year contract would get it done, it's okay. That fits right into what the Dodgers seemingly would love to do for a reliever of this caliber. It's exactly that. So it's, just like you said, it's not someone they wrote off, at the beginning saying there was just no chance. This is someone that if the opportunity arose, and it did, we can make this happen, right? And then it just, with that offer to Raisel Iglesias early on, it was saying they're in the market for a reliever. Is it just a 1-year stuff? I was under the impression then, possibly that. Maybe they just wanted to check that box early. And once that was gone, it's okay. Maybe we can get, take this a little bit more serious. Devin Williams, we know they offered a good contract there, a 3-year contract. It's okay. You don't get him. Now let's just take it another step further. Why not? You already went this far. Why would the Dodgers of any organization take a step back and go for someone lower on the tier when you already allocated those resources to someone in that same realm of contract cost, right? And it worked exactly out that way. And I'm just, it settling in is something that with Edwin Diaz, it's a reliever. I'm incredibly excited about it, but it's just, again, another spot where that top end name on the market's a Los Angeles Dodger.
Yeah. And I think with the Iglesias offer, I'm convinced now that deal they weren't angling there for just one arm. I think if Iglesias takes 1 year at 16 from the Dodgers, they still go after Diaz. Maybe they don't go after Williams as hard. And look, it looked like they maybe didn't go after Williams as hard considering what they gave Diaz, who was clearly the better pitcher.
Do you think that came from the years that Devin Williams was getting? They were saying Devin Williams is getting this much when Edwin Diaz has this caliber and track record right there. And do you think that's the case?
I think the AAV was the hang up there.
Sure.
I think that the Dodgers probably weren't willing to go to the level that the Mets were with Williams. And it's possible that the Mets did that because the Mets had an inclination that Diaz didn't want to be there anymore. And so they felt they had to be more aggressive on Devin Williams. And look, from all indications had Diaz gone back to the Mets with the offer, they probably would have at the very least matched it. The guy just didn't want to be there anymore.
He didn't. They all did, reports saying that he didn't go back to them to match it. That says a lot. That says a whole lot. And, for the money that he ended up signing for, it's just, you get paid. You have the opportunity to get paid top dollar to join the Los Angeles Dodgers, and you don't have to fight sometimes and hear some of those worries that, say Edwin Diaz has one out, if he signs with the New York Mets and he has, say, 2 bad closing opportunities there, blows a few saves, you have those voices there saying, should we give Devin Williams a shot? You're not going to have that in LA. He's signed on to be the guy to close out games. And I just elated by it, man. I need to see it go run official so I can really have everything set in and break it down.
I know. And Jeff and Bruce talked about this, and we talked about it too on the morning stream after the deal was announced.
Yeah.
He just set a record for AAV for a reliever, and still somehow feels like a value deal.
Mm-hmm. Because we were talking, look, it's early on. I was on Dodgers Territory show with Clint immediately early in the offseason. And that's where you look at the big names. And I just, like I said, the pluses I mentioned about Edwin Diaz early on in seasons for the past few years, it's that there are times where, admin in the chat saying, need to hear Scotty say big bad dollar Dodgers again. Yeah, they're the big bad dollar Dodgers. It's just every year they figure out a way. And I wish Craig was in the chat to do it because he's been harping on them going out and just spending money and, convincing ourselves that maybe they can get away with it this time with not having to be, overzealous with some of their spending. But this is an opportunity that came up. But with Edwin Diaz, he checks the boxes of track record, health, stuff, and versatility, which means he had to go out and put up 4-out saves, way too much with the New York Mets, but it spoke more toward him being one of those top arms that didn't throw a fit about doing that, didn't have any issue doing it, and being one of those rubber arm guys willing to do whatever it takes. And that type of stuff on field plays a lot. And the Dodgers have seen both ends do it, bullpen, starters. So with what we see on the field, with his attitude and demeanor, being able to do whatever it takes when you know you're volatile with it as a reliever, that's just another plus. So I'm elated to have him in Dodger Blue, man. So thanks for those thoughts there. I think it's just that type of signing with how it played out with the New York Mets and the Dodgers swooping in and making this happen. It's just a testament to, this powerhouse and this destination spot the Dodgers are having. So again, but everybody, thank you for tuning in. To all the tier 1s, tier 2s, thank you so much. All the regulars, we got you. I see you all in here. We're going to talk the, Lol Mets here in just a minute. I want to talk about their timeline of this rough last year that they've had here. It's been an unbelievable turn of events for them. But again, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, do all the things for us. If you're listening after the fact, watching this back, please leave all your comments down below. I do run back and check those. So appreciate you all for tuning in here. But since the Mets signed Juan Soto to the largest contract, they missed the playoffs with the highest payroll in baseball on opening day. They lost the best reliever in Edwin Diaz, and Pete Alonso signs with the Baltimore Orioles. And the Mets did not want to go past 3 years, and they just pulled out of that, signing race altogether. And their lineup, it's getting younger, but they're losing so much talent. So this is it's the Lol Mets, man.
And they still don't have any pitching, like in the rotation. It feels like David Stearns tried to get a little bit cute with the rotation there. And instead of just kind of spending big and going after, names that were on the market last year, they try to get bargain deals and say like, oh, well, maybe we can unlock a little more from these guys. And it hasn't worked out. Now they've lost Edwin Diaz. They've lost Pete Alonso. They have Lindor. They have Soto. But like, there's also now the whole situation with the toxic clubhouse culture there. And
it
just
coming out
feels
now.
like a complete mess. And look, yesterday, like, you try to put yourself in Mets fans' shoes. Like I was watching some of the streams, the WFAN stuff you watched also, Scotty, I know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And they were going at it bad. And then today the Alonso news happens. And I think it was always a little more likely that Alonso was going to leave than Diaz was. I think that they truly did not believe Diaz was going to leave if they had the highest offer, or if they had the opportunity to make the highest offer. And I think when he left and now today with Alonso, I mean, if you're a fan of that team, man, it's very difficult to be optimistic right now. Even though they got Soto, even though they still have Devin Williams and Francisco Lindor, it's just like you're watching other teams in your league, the teams you have to get by to get to a World Series, pass you by. And not just pass you by, but like they're leaving you in the dust now.
Yes. So the Dodgers add Edwin Diaz here. I'm just going to put a bow on it. I'm extremely excited about it. I know Chad is too. Bruce, I know Bruce is in chat, Bruce Kuhn. So if you have thank you for tuning in, man. Hell of a job with everything. I know you are fired up as anybody about this. This is an exciting signing, and someone with just incredible stuff to break down in an attitude on the mound. Someone who's not going to, shy away from those big spots. So extremely excited about that. But Anthony, this begs the question now. So I know Andrew Friedman was on, Brandon Gomes, all these, top Dodgers brass have been on MLB Network doing appearances, media spots, interviews, and asked about their spending. And this is something, are the Dodgers poised for more of it? Where do you stand on how do you think the Dodgers are approaching these next few days, next few weeks here? Because there are still holes outstanding on this Dodgers, starting roster, this starting lineup. Where do you fall on this side? Do you think they're going to keep looking for these, something via trade? We got a segment here in a moment talking about, Jake Meyers and Harrison Bader, but could they continue to dip their pen, into this high price stuff?
I'll say this. watching Pete Alonso go to Baltimore today, it opens up a couple of possibilities here. And one of those possibilities is that the market for Kyle Tucker starts to shrink and the bottom starts to get very flimsy. And now it could be that a team like the Mets says, you know what, we'll give you your 8 years, Kyle Tucker, because we need to fix the disaster that just happened to us in the last 24, 36 hours. Or it means that Kyle Tucker, who is younger than 30 right now, says, you know what, maybe a 3-year deal plus a fourth option doesn't sound so bad. And I can still get back out on the market in my early 30s.
Yeah, exactly.
Who's willing to give me a lot of money in a short amount of time?
Yes.
Come on down.
Yep, exactly. Matt Moreno, he had a story today on DodgerBlue.com, citing some quotes exactly to that. This is from, talking about Ken Rosenthal and Katie Wu had a fantastic article over at The Athletic. But with the quotes that Los Angeles is unlikely to offer Tucker a 6, plus year deal. But the club, however, would entertain a shorter 3 to 4 year deal with a high AAV, similar to what the Boston Red Sox signed Alex Bregman to last spring when he signed a 3-year, $120 million contract, which included an opt-out clause after each year. And the Dodgers, that's a contract, framework that is very sexy to players because you can get paid if you opt in and you can still get a portion of it. So even if he has, a solid year, which if you play the averages with Kyle Tucker, he's someone who's very projectable that they're going to have a quality year that will get him paid and has the projectable metrics to pay him in the future, regardless of what happens one year. So that type of contract would work for him. And if he's in the market for something like that, because if Alex Bregman gets paid, though, and Pete Alonso, same stuff, he just got paid doing that type of contract structure. This is exactly what, the Dodgers could swoop in and do, and it won't explode the AAV. Their CBT, their number would stay in a manageable spot, regardless if it's 3 years or just the 1 year before opting out.
And look, the Dodgers had $80 million coming off this season, right? Mm-hmm. Some of the money for Diaz is deferred. And I mean, next year's free agent class is meh. They could tell Kyle Tucker, what's 40 with 1 + 1 sound like to you?
Yeah.
They can do a lot of things now. I mean, it feels like they got a blockbuster, move the needle kind of piece that is going to be significantly impactful for them. And they still have the hole in the outfield, and they can fill it with anyone who plays any of those 3 positions, because then other guys just sort of move over. So they can go anywhere. But yeah, I think this puts them, the Alonso thing puts them a little bit more in play now for a guy like Tucker. It also could mean that they would want more cost control over somebody. So maybe it's somebody like Duran or Abreu that they now say, you know what? We've been all in on this thing. What's a couple of more prospects to give out or for the bat there? So I think the nice thing here about where their situation is after the Diaz signing is that they have one real hole to fill, and there's a lot of options now on the table for them to go and do that. I still think that they are going to be prudent and very conservative with the years and that kind of situation that they're going to give out, because they have prospects in the pipeline that are going to take up outfield spots in the next couple of seasons or so.
Yep.
And so if it's a situation like Tucker or Bader or something like that, those deals are going to be short, or else they're not going to happen, and then they'll pivot to something different. So they're sitting in a really, really opportunistic position right now.
Yeah, and I'll ask you this again, where the Dodgers are at. You mentioned Duran, Abreu is probably on that similar radar. We're going to talk about Bader and Jake Meyers here in a sec. But if it were where your gut's at, and I know that might not mean anything with how the Dodgers operate, the trade route or the free agent signing route, and that can mean Cody Bellinger, that can mean Kyle Tucker, that can mean Harrison Bader on the free agent route. the trade route, does that still feel like the number one way that they go? Or are you kind of baseline right now? You're kind of 50-50. They could go either way here just based on the signing of Edwin Diaz. That what's one more year of going in and spending once again here if the players are available and willing to take some of these these contracts here? Or do you think they're going to go trade route first thing and then free agents is the secondary route?
I think if they really feel like a situation like Tucker or Bellinger are not willing to do anything between 2 and 4 years, I mean, hell, even 1 year for Tucker, then I think they do pivot more toward a trade. I think even probably before they look at Bader now on a short, cheap deal and a guy who can play center field for them. Bellinger feels like a guy who is going to wait this thing out until he can't anymore, because
it's his time to get paid, man.
I think he's sick of having to take the short deal, and he's never gotten that big contract I think that he thought he was going to get coming off of an MVP season. And then, his production cratered, and then he had to take a bunch of short deals. With Tucker, I think it's a situation where if he truly thinks at some point he can get a 6-year deal, but maybe it's not this winter, a 1+1 like Bregman did with Boston could be on the table.
I've said before that I think that, people ask me about Cody Bellinger. I believe Cody Bellinger is primed to get that money. He deserves this money. He has done every single thing asked of him coming off that, being non-tendered by the Dodgers, goes with the Cubs, performs, goes with the Yankees, performs. However people want to bring up home road splits, I couldn't care less. But Cody Bellinger has done everything. When you are at the lowest of the low, a former MVP player, he deserves to be paid. So just like you said, I think he's going to wait this thing out, man.
Yeah, I think so, because it's his last real opportunity.
Yeah,
if he were to take another 2-year deal, when that's done, no one's going to give him a longer term deal than that.
Even if it's a shorter term thing right now, he's got to capitalize on getting most AAV possible.
Totally, and that's why I think he waits until maybe spring training might have been started already before he signs a deal. I think for sure, unless he finds someone that says, yeah, we'll give you 4 years, I think he would take that kind of deal. But for me, with him, it's not just the home road splits. Those can fluctuate, but the underlying numbers on him, batted ball velocity,
ball stuff. I understand.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little scary. But he can still play some defense. He can still go run it down at his age still. And so I think for the Dodgers, I would still be okay with a Bellinger reunion on a short deal. I do not want him beyond basically 2 seasons.
Yeah.
And so, but I still do think that him and Boris know that this is his last chance.
They're going to do everything possible.
They're going to do everything they can. They're going to wait this thing out. The Mets become a very interesting team in all of this now, because it almost feels like they have to go out and overpay for something.
If you look at their, this isn't a Lowell Mets segment, so if it makes it over there, Mets fans sympathize with you, but you're, David Stearns and Cohen, they're proven to be just a little fraudulent right now. A lot of youth on there, but the lineup definitely needs a boost. Our chat agrees with it, but the Mets feel, just like Anthony says here, primed to overspend on somebody to get them in-house, to stop this, the leaky ship that they've got right here, because as it stands, they need some help. So just like you said, Admin says this in our chat as well, that, the Mets might overpay for Belly if they decide against, or they miss out on Kyle Tucker. Hell, they might go ahead and, I don't know, would the Mets go out and pay Kyle Tucker in the contract that he's looking for somewhere in the area?
I don't think they go 10 years, but I think 7, something like that. I think 7 years.
That's it. That's the area.
Doing that.
Yeah. So if they're, Mike says this in chat, Stearns is too small market brand. Yeah, he's got to shake that. You got cash flow. You got cash flow to spend. You could do it, man. But yeah, look, the Dodgers are going to stay in this period. I know people up in chat still agree, and I'm still on this route that the trade market is where they ultimately go with an outfielder. I still think that's the case. I got the Cody Bellinger bobblehead behind me just for the vibes. That if they do make it happen, look, he's someone that has done everything possible to turn himself into that desirable player. So I wish him the best. If he signs with LA, great. If not, wish him the best there. Hope he gets paid. He deserves it. But the trade route,
if you had to make a prediction today, who's the guy? How do you think the Dodgers handled this outfield hole?
Are you asking me a singular or which route they go?
Both.
Player?
If they go trade, who's the guy? And if they sign somebody, who's the guy?
If they sign someone, Kyle Tucker, low AAV deal, high AAV deal, low years. That's the route I think they go there. If it's through the trade route, I think I've long said, and I'll say it, Jarren Duran makes just a ton of sense for this team. They need the athleticism. They need someone. I've said this before. People were talking about right-handed bats, and it made no sense to me because it was peculiar to me that they took a step back versus right-handed pitching, and they did. They have the lefties who can bang it, but they need an outfielder who's just a mercenary against righties. So I think the athleticism of Jarren Duran, what he brings as far as speed, that dynamic there. If people think he's a platoon bat, they're still going to play him against lefties. Like, he still brings that element of speed. He's going to make things happen there. I think the defense will play outside of Boston without that, the big green monster there hindering him having some range. I think it would be Jarren Duran. I don't have anything to back that up, but it's just he's a dynamic piece. If it's Wiley or Abreu, then that's someone has a terrific glove, has the upside, some upside offensively. But Jarren Duran is the one that I would hope they would go out and bring into LA with the 2 years of control there. The Steven Kwan stuff, like I've said before, I could be sold on it, but it's Jarren Duran for me is just the number one option with Steven Kwan right in second.
Yeah, I think that's fair. The Duran thing has grown on me over the weeks. I've become a lot more of a fan of it lately. I also don't know, I think a lot of the smoke on this has come from us, not like us, you and I, or us at Dodger Blue, just like us, like fans and a few reporters, because there's no indication that Boston is actively trying to move Duran or Abreu. They've come out and said, one, that they want to be cheap, and those two guys are cost controlled.
Yeah.
And two, they want offense. And so getting rid of a guy like Duran for, let's say, prospects or maybe a major league level starter that's kind of middle of the rotation or something like that feels like not their kind of deal. And so I think someone's going to have to wow them for them to move one of those guys. And we say, the other thing that's been brought up is they have 4 outfielders. Well, they're not all going to play every day. The Dodgers have 9 starting pitchers, but they're not eager to trade away from that depth right now. Mm-hmm. And so I'm with you in that I would, if they got Duran, I'd be very, very happy with that. I just don't know how willing Boston is to move off of him right now at this point. And if they were super eager to move off a guy with that kind of production under team control, I would be very skeptical of why.
It's a fair question. Yeah, it is.
Yeah. So those two things. And then I think if I had to choose a free agent route, my personal preference would be if Tucker says, I'm cool with the 2-year deal plus one.
Oh, it's over with.
Option number 1 is Kyle Tucker. It's the same as with Diaz.
We'll drive to the airport, man.
Diaz and Tucker were both sort of off all of our radars when the winter started because we assumed Diaz was 5 years and 9 figures, and yes. we assumed that Tucker was going to play in the area of 8 to 10 years and $400 million or something like that. If we saw what happened to Diaz, he said 3's cool with me, and we said, tell us when to stop, boss. Here you go. If Tucker says something similar, then he's the guy. He's the option. But if him and Bellinger are stuck to their, I want a longer term deal, then I think the free agent route for me would be Bader, because at the very least he raises your floor because he's going to play outstanding defense for you, and he can play center field, which then gives you an elite defender in center, an elite defender in right. Because I think I've said it before. I think Pages can win a Gold Glove in right field. I don't know if he'll ever be that in center field. I think he can be serviceable and solid in right field. I think he can be elite and one of the best players, one of the best defenders in right field. And then you move Teo to left, where he's still not going to be a good defender, but the penalties for him being bad are lessened in left field than they are.
You're cooking. You're cooking. Don't tell Blake that. Don't tell Blake that. You're absolutely cooking, because it's just facts.
But yeah, and the whole trade Teo stuff to me is a non-starter at this point.
Oh my God. I'm ready to jump out of the ceiling right now. You're absolutely cooking. Anthony has soared the rankings.
Bats that can hit the ball hard and out of the park. And for as bad of a defender as he is, if he returns to 30 and 100 next season, that's a guy that other teams want to pay for. His down injured season was 25 and 90. He's 5 home runs off and 10 RBI off.
Cooking.
And we know right-handed hitting, competent offensive right-handed hitters in the outfield are scarce in Major League Baseball.
Common Anthony W
give
today.
That guy away because you didn't like that he didn't hustle enough to a ball.
Oh, he's cooking. He's cooking. He's cooking. Yes. Thank you. Yes. Also, Katie Wu, who has soared into the lead for best Dodgers beat writer in such a short period of time. Katie Wu, shout out to you. Friend of the show, friend of the pod. She notes puts this very important piece at, Dave Roberts's quotes about Teoscar Hernandez, that a shift to left field is not something that's out of the question. So that's definitely something that going into, 2026 season is very much on the table. So it is a conversation to have. I
would imagine it's the team's preference at this point.
For sure.
And they would like to be able to find someone that can play center. Then it allows them to move Pages to right and move Teo to left.
Yeah. I'm going to still, the Bader stuff, I get it. I understand, gives you the floor in the outfield there, gives you the defensive stuff in center field. He had just the career year. That was kind of my pause with him. I don't want a multi-year thing. If they do it, they do it. Like I said, I just want a stable option.
Yeah. And for me, it would be a couple of years for Bader. I'm not giving him 5 years or anything like that.
Yeah. I think that
means a stopgap until the other guys come for me. And I would also I'm not even looking at that career year he had offensively. If he happens to be able to touch that ceiling, that's a bonus for me. I want him because you're going to go out there and your objective with the Dodgers is to shut down gap to gap. And you give me that, and then anything you give me offensively is better, because what we've seen is an equivalent of a bad offensive outfielder with awful defense in Conforto last year. Yeah. Now, if we're going to at least be not great offensively, give me somebody who can go run it down gap to gap, and also makes Teo a little bit better, because Teo doesn't have to worry about moving over to his left.
Understood. Yeah. And it's a lot of the same stuff with Jarren Duran. I think, the speed and I know arm value has just been incredible for Jarren Duran. I think that stuff will play. Boston's a weird outfield to play in. Totally. So I think that stuff would play up. So the same baseline as far as outfield stuff, the metrics don't back up Jarren Duran, but I know what he brings with the arm, the speed. And I think that having, a clean runway in LA would be great. If you're telling me that the defense of Harrison Bader is the floor, and then what we get offensively, look, I'm at the point, Anthony, where I'm so tired of talking about an outfield spot that just give me someone who's going to give me a solid baseline that I can set them and forget them. And TQT, I got you, man. I know you're on the trade Teo bandwagon, but I would really like, to ask you to give me someone else that's going to provide a low rate of, what their output is of 25 and 90. Who else is giving you that? Because you can't Blake Williams me and tell me that a few misplays is accounting for 25 other runs or 15 less homers, stuff like that. It's just not happening. You're not telling me that somebody else is out there that you can just plug in and then you have a whole nother slot to fill. So I would hope that you have somebody better than just telling me like Brendan Donovan. That's not moving the needle as far as the offense that Teoscar Hernandez can produce at a career low. So that's where I'm at with the trade Teoscar Hernandez stuff.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think he has a better season than he had this last one. I think it also was a little bit of a wake up call that like, oh yeah, that like people can turn on me if I don't produce. I think there's a lot of factors to that. Like, I don't know if that he ever felt comfortable enough with it to kind of just forget about it. I expect a better season from him offensively. I really do.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's talk this real fast. There's been some talk lately about, just like you brought up Harrison Bader or Jake Meyers. With Harrison Bader, we saw him, be kind of a weapon for the Philadelphia Phillies there. They traded for him. He was an instant upgrade. It was someone that for the Dodgers at the trade deadline, of someone if they brought in, then it would be a big plus. And the Philadelphia Phillies brought it in and immediately found an upgrade. That's someone we understand what he can bring when he's right. He can, give you a great outfield glove, make you some plays where other center fielders won't. With Jake Meyers, he's someone that on the defensive end, that's what you're getting with the Jake Meyers. You're going out and get someone with 96 percentile outs above average. He's got great range, right-handed bat there. This is someone that I don't know much about, but in the same realm of you're going to get a great glove in center field. It's going to remedy that slot there. TQT, I don't want you to tell me the WAR. I couldn't care less what the WAR is. That's a complete stat as far as bringing defense and offense together. I'm asking you to give me someone else offensively who's going to provide you with that much. All right, Anthony, you got the floor, man.
Yeah. If we're looking at, to interject on that, if we're looking at WAR, the Dodgers bullpen, I think it led the league in WAR last season, and I don't think any of us would be like, oh yeah, the bullpen was really, really good. Yeah. So WAR is a good barometer. It's not a great one. It's got its flaws, just like all of them. That's why you have to look at everything with baseball, because none of these things are perfect. And as far as Meyers goes, essentially he is filling the position the way I was just talking about Bader filling the position. Yeah. For me, they're very similar. And when the Phillies lost him last year in the NLDS, that hurt them. It really did hurt them. That losing him made an impact. Meyers is he's been a pretty average to below average offensive player. But again, I think considering what's built around this lineup right now, and this assumes a bounce back from Teo, a bounce back from Mookie, a healthier Freddie Freeman. Shohei's going to be Shohei. Will Smith's going to be Will Smith, right? Paez continues to progress. The guy, Paez had a really good season last year. I think we tend to forget about that because of what the playoffs look like, where he was atrocious. But he had a pretty good regular season, and he was nearly an all-star. Maybe should have been an all-star. So I think they have a lot there. Max Muncy, if he's healthy, you pencil him in for 30. I think they can afford to say, we don't need offense out of this particular position. We need somebody who can go track it down for everyone on the field. And Meyers would fit that. I don't know what the cost for him would be in a deal. But for Bader, I like Bader because he doesn't cost you anything in terms of prospect capital. And not that Meyers would be very expensive. I don't know. But Bader, I think you can get for cheap and for 2 years. And then when it's all done, you can go, hey, man, thanks for your service. You got 2 more rings out of it.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah, Bader, I have to look at what he's looking at there. Jake Meyers has, looking into his, he still has 3 more years, including this upcoming one. So he'll be in his R1 season. So some controllability there. So it definitely stabilizes the position for a few seasons, should they want to keep him around, which if they're acquiring him, look, they can move off him if it doesn't work out. But like you said, it's giving you a baseline with the glove. It's going to stabilize center field. It's going to save you runs. It's going to do its job there. So it's exactly that. It's just another remedy.
Totally. And everyone in the chat talking about how, that both those guys are bad offensively. We know that. We're saying that this is a position for a year or two that you can say, you know what, if you can give me league average production, that's cool. And if you can give me anything better, it's a bonus. But we need you to be like a fielding Bible award finalist in center field. Like that's what we're looking for. We're looking for outstanding defense in a prime defensive position, a premium defensive position. We understand that they're not great. They're not all-stars with the bat. The Meyers thing, is there smoke around that? Is there anything that you've seen? Or
No,
is it just
I haven't. I haven't. I think that's just, there's the Dodgers have Brian McTaggart. He put out something of MLB.com. He said wouldn't address the rumor specifically, but sources say the White Sox, Dodgers, Reds, and Royals are interested in the 29-year-old outfielder.
Gotcha.
Look at the other teams that are in that. That's the White Sox, the Reds, and the Royals. Other teams that are, low, small market, what it is. Those are teams that look for those type of fixes for some years, team control, cost controlled. The Dodgers seem like that, that one where you're just like, get out of here. If the Dodgers are looking on that end, I think they're just, floating names out there and someone caught wind of that. I don't think that Jake Meyers is a legitimate possibility. It's just that if all else fails, then let's go stabilize the position in a corner slot. And how can we help out these other guys in the corner pieces so we can get that baseline run prevention out in center field to help the rest of the, Manny Pages or Teoscar Hernandez in the corners. And
if that rumor is true that the Dodgers are showing some interest, might not be heavy interest, but they're showing some interest in that, I think it also says that like they would be willing to say like, we can take a year or two of not great offensive production from center field if it gives us a guy who can go and play great defense.
Yeah. So we'll keep tabs on that. The Bader one, just like you said, it's just cash. With Jake Meyers, you're going to have to give up some capital just because there is controllability there on arbitration contracts here. Again, Anthony, always with this stuff, we're talking about, Teoscar Hernandez will be a continued conversation there. Look, I'm unwilling to have the conversation this year because I don't see the remedies out there that you can bring in immediately to fill what he provides. That's where I'm at with it. I don't need to address it anymore going forward.
You're opening up a significant hole offensively.
Yeah,
for sure.
That's where it's at. People in there you want to bring up however you want. You're not going to bring in anybody else to have the offensive output to replace that. I understand the defensive deficiencies that he has. They're not something I'm shying away from or acting like they don't exist. It's that just by going to get somebody in there who can run and get it, glove it, that's not going to fix and fill the hole that he would be leaving offensively with someone in a corner slot. It's just not out there without having to move Teo, sign somebody or trade somebody again, then having to get one more guy for that outfield. It's just a lot of movement, and I don't think it's the market to do it. You keep talking about that, TKG, about his war, but that's okay. We're going to agree to disagree. Always appreciate you in chat, but we're talking in circles about the same stuff. But that's where I'm at with Teoscar Hernandez. Don't need to address it anymore going forward until anything else happens.
And I mean, you can scream it till you're blue in the face. Like they've said they don't anticipate a trade for him. Like someone's going to have to come to them and blow them away. Again, you can talk about a 0.6 WAR or whatever this last season. What was it the year before? Is he more like the guy who was a 0.6 WAR or more like the guy who was an all-star the year before? I think he's more like the guy who's an all-star. He's closer to that level than he is a replacement level, or I'm sorry, a league average level. And so you remove a guy like that, he becomes a commodity for somebody else who's going to take him. And you've just now created a hole. Like in a down year, go replace 25 homers and 90 RBI. Who's on the market right now that you can say that guy would give me that? I don't know if that guy exists necessarily. Like Kyle Tucker, but
you still got to make one more move. You still got to make one more move.
Still have a hole.
Yeah, you still got to do it. If people want to know off Teo and then move to the next thing, there's still more things that have to happen there. So both things. It's if you want to include Teoscar in the mix and remedy it with getting another plus bat, then go ahead. But there's more things that have to happen if you just want to trade him.
You also now have two outfield holes, not just one.
Exactly.
So unless Kyle Tucker has a twin who plays just like him, one Kyle Tucker isn't going to replace both holes.
Yeah. This is the last thing I'm going to say, TQT, and this is it here. The interest in Teo is an advantage for us, and I'll address this myself. If another team wants to pay the Dodgers some of that contract and prospects to move him out, then I understand where that's at, and I would welcome that conversation. But if the Dodgers are going to have to eat some of that contract to move him out just because they feel the defense is a detriment, that's not the route that I think they would go. It's if another team has that overwhelming interest to go get him because of the market. Yeah. That's where I'm at.
Because he's a valued commodity. No one's going to come for a guy that they think is worthless. You know what I mean? Like he has a value despite a bad season or a down season for him. And I think the other thing that people don't realize maybe or don't understand is the Dodgers do not sell low on these guys like this. Like they don't.
And looking around for the contracts there, it's look at the market, everybody. Again, all caps question. We'll take a few here and let everybody get out of here. Enjoy the rest of your day. Shout out to the 1,500 in chat, watching across, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. Thank you for joining us, Anthony and myself this Wednesday afternoon here. All caps question. We'll take a few here. Anthony, until something materializes with if anything ever does, if the reports are even half true about Tarek Skubal, have those made you laugh as much as, they're making me chuckle, KTLA reporters saying that, keeps pumping this stuff up here. I don't know how much of that I can believe.
I don't really believe it at all. I think that, it made me laugh. Yes, it made me laugh. And the fact that no one else that has like any inside baseball source credibility has echoed it, I think says a lot.
Yeah. Thomas says this: if Tucker was getting his contract, he would have signed by now. His market has fallen and he realizes how much he can make over shorter years and sign another contract later. I think this is a nuanced response I'd have to give because teams might be, shying away from something in the top realm as far as like say an 8-9 year deal based on what could be upcoming with the collective bargaining agreement that's on the horizon, some uncertainty there, but I think you might be onto something with this, but a contract of this magnitude, they do take time. And with a player like Kyle Tucker, who he is a top talent, there's no questioning that. But a slam dunk is something that I think has become kind of the overwhelming feeling with Kyle Tucker. That is he someone that you have to really be in love with the player to give someone that mega contract. Anthony, you could piggyback off this because to what Thomas asks and what he comments here is that, is this a time where this is why this conversations and these narratives of these short-term high AAV deals are starting to come into light?
Yeah. I could not disagree more that he would have signed by now. These contracts take we've seen a lot of 9-figure deals signed in late January, early February, or even as pitchers and catchers are reporting. So deals like this, they take time. And I mean, we're still technically in the winter meetings. Like it's very early in this offseason still. And typically a deal like this is going to wait and see what other people at his position get, guys like, or at least guys who are in his financial stratosphere. Kyle Schwarber, Pete Alonso, like those kinds of guys, right? And they're looking at those markets and going, okay, now we're recalibrating constantly on what a Kyle Tucker situation might look like. And then it just takes one team. It takes one team that gets a guy hurt, or it takes a team like the Mets that lose 2 superstars to say, you know what, we got to fix this. And so there's still plenty of time for the Tucker market to develop and for him to get his 8 to 10 years or whatever it's going to take. He's a guy where, considering that we just saw Schwarber go for 5 years, I think he can get at least 5 years.
I would say so. Yeah. And people keep doing that. Like, guys, let's make no mistake. These executives they read social media. They see the narratives. They get a lot of ideas and stuff. That's just how it goes. So I'm with you that because of this, the Kyle Schwarber news, Pete Alonso stuff, what's happening with the New York Mets, there is definitely going to be a team that will say, maybe we salvage this offseason, make a move like that. But again, a team has to fall in love with the player, and those deals take time. They take time. There's going to be chatter around the short-term stuff, but they take time. Sometimes it works against the player, but it doesn't really matter. Like, having an abbreviated spring training, if it takes that long, the ramp up might look a little different for that said player, but a deal will get done if a team wants to get it done. And right now, for a player of Kyle Tucker's caliber, it's kind of him, Cody Bellinger, and then anybody else. Like everybody else, there is a steep drop off for the players there. So Kyle Tucker will get his money.
There's a steep drop off at this point after Kyle Tucker.
Yeah, I would say so.
With Schwarber out and Alonso out,
it's big.
The offensive drop off from Kyle Tucker to anyone else now is big.
It's big time. Yeah. Ceiling for Kyle Tucker on the contract that Anthony Witrado would be willing to give him.
Like as the Dodgers,
go as the Dodgers, and then go as the Boston Red Sox, New York Mets.
I'll go the two extremes, I think, what I would consider the two extremes at this point. The Dodgers, 4 years is the max, I think. For the Mets, I think 10 years is the max. They just gave Soto 15 or what?
15, 765, I
think.
think.
Got 15 years.
Yeah.
I saw someone comment that the 10-year contracts are dead. Yamamoto got 12. Shohei got 10. Soto got 15. Like the double digit
depends on the player, man.
Is not dead. I would say if you're the Mets, then 10 years.
There you go. Yeah. I loved the New York Post had some hilarious cover with the Mr. Met with the trumpet and said the day that music died. That was absolutely, so good. That was absolutely killed me. Absolutely killed me. But a team will overpay. They will do it. I mean, it's not a player that isn't worth it.
They're all overpays, right?
They're all overpays.
Shohei is looking like a guy who's going to
cost is relative. Cost is relative, but if we look at it like what it is, you're like, oh my God, how in the world? It's just got to make sense. And it's just a player like Kyle Tucker. I'm not okay. I'm not okay giving a 10-year deal. I'd say he's a hell of a player. It's not someone I'd give 10 years to.
Yeah.
It's like Xander Bogaerts. It's the same type of thing. It's what are we doing? What are we doing? That deal looked ridiculous from the start.
Yeah. But I mean, Tatis has a double-digit deal, Acuna, I think, has one too. Like, I mean, he's got giving out every other year.
Yeah. Yeah. The teams want to jump on it, but this is free agency right now for these top end guys. If you're not a slam dunk, the waters get pretty murky as far as, who's going to offer up that money, but a team will do it. A team definitely will do it. And I think the Mets now for Kyle Tucker, it's someone that, hey, we got another team in the mix here.
And let's be real. Unless the deal is an extension, like the guy's already under contract and then you extend him for 10 seasons or something, whatever it is. If he's in a free agency and you give a guy 10 years, even 8 years, they're all overpays.
Yeah.
It's what Andrew Friedman said a while back. If you're rational about every free agent, you're going to finish second on every free agent. Like you have to be a little bit nuts to give a guy who never pitched in Major League Baseball before 12 years and $300+ million and make him the highest paid right-handed pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball before he was even a prospect in the minors or anything like that.
These teams know who these players are. They know who they are.
And they understand that there's going to be back end years of that contract that are going to suck, but they're paying for the prime years.
You pay for the prime. Especially in Major League Baseball, it's the Wild West. Players, this is stuff these are contracts and the ability for players to make as much as they can in the open market, stuff that's been bargained for, decades ago already. So this is a players union that protected players to allow them to get as much as they wanted. I'm a huge advocate for the players. They should be able to. The owners make as much and cry poor. And big time owners are crying poor right now for absolutely zero reason, or they're just showing some restraint and they're, getting pies in the face
reason is
for it.
they're trying to put more money in their own pockets.
Yeah, there he is. Correct.
That's why I think I always say it, like, we're privileged to be Dodger fans in this era of Dodger baseball, because this ownership group, while they're making their own money, trust that, they are definitely willing to reinvest into this roster, and it makes being a fan of this team incredibly exciting.
Yeah. So final thoughts with it, Anthony. I'll let you get a couple, your final thoughts here and take us home, man.
Super excited with this Diaz thing. It was something I wasn't expecting. I don't think anyone was really expecting it to happen that way. I think this really does go a long way in solidifying a bullpen, not just during the regular season, but more importantly in October. So we don't have to hopefully pitch Yamamoto out of the bullpen. We don't have to pitch Glasnow out of the bullpen. When we were asked, what's your ideal winter meetings for the Dodgers, no one said Edwin Diaz on our show, because no one thought it was an attainable thing. Everyone thought that the Dodgers were going to cap their number, which they did, but we thought Diaz was going to demand more, and he didn't. And so, coming out of this week with Edwin Diaz in your pocket, that's as big a win as you could have gotten if you're the Dodgers.
Definitely. Yeah. Blake and I, the other day, we were talking on Monday, we were talking about how, the probability of Edwin Diaz, I think we had it at like 5%, something like that. We just didn't see them in that realm, so again, when there's smoke on some things, there's fire. And it's hilarious that Dave Roberts goes out and says, there's not a big move that needs to be made. And then they go out and they make this big move. So opportunistic spending. I definitely think that's just something that the Dodgers will always continue to capitalize on, because they can. They'll continue to move, money around there because they can. They keep going deep into the postseason, winning World Series, having endorsement money always coming in. They can. They put it right back into the team. So I would can we say this right now? Nothing is ever off the table for what the Dodgers front office can obtain and bring in to bolster this roster here.
Yeah, totally. If the market shifts back toward the Dodgers, they're going to pounce and be aggressive. I think that's exactly what we saw with Diaz, and it would not be completely out of the question if they did it with Tucker.
Yeah. Keep tabs, everybody, on the trade market there. Again, Anthony, him and I both note that I believe that Jarren Duran, Stephen Kwan, again, still, following Duran would be, a quality move on the trade route. You can offload some of your prospects that inevitably will not reach Major League Baseball with a clear runway to start the games that they deserve to start. Keep an eye out for what they do with Dalton Rushing. I know nothing about it, but I'm just speaking to the injustice that a former number one prospect is now a backup catcher. And I need more. I need more from someone with a much higher ceiling than a backup catcher playing behind perhaps the best catcher in Major League Baseball. It's unfortunate for Dalton Rushing there, but and Harrison Bader through the free agent route there. So there are options there. I'll continue to say it. I've said it all offseason. There are a number of ways the Dodgers can go that I feel great with how they can remedy the outfield in the spots they need to figure out.
And you know what? Just make another call to the Twins. Let's just make sure they're certain about their position right now.
Hey guys, we got a call to Craig Breslow in the Red Sox. Are you sure that final call here? It's last call here in Los Angeles. I know it's getting late in Minnesota. I don't know if you want to put one last offer. Give it a call to Byron. See if he wants to have a shift over to sunny LA. So we'll see.
70 right now.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. TQT later, guys. Chat, tier ones, everybody. Anthony, thank you for joining in as always. Again, my name is Scott Geirman. Thanks for tuning in to DodgerHeads Unplugged. You could do all the things for us. Show us some love. Like, subscribe, notification bell. Follow us everywhere on social medias. We will be back here on Friday. But if anything breaks, we will do our best to go live as soon as possible, like we always continue to do for the fans. We are, as the number one honest Dodgers independent sports media you've got. So we appreciate the hell out of you. To the 1,600 that joined in on a Wednesday afternoon, avoided your work obligations. You're the best. We'll continue to bring it as much as we can for you. Until I can't say it anymore, my name is Scott Geirman. We'll talk to you soon. Go Dodgers.